Hey everyone, it's been a while since I shot a video, so I figured I would do one now. This one is on a 2011 Chevy Impala. What it's doing is when you turn the switch over, it's clicking. And when it does fire up, it sounded to me like the starter was dragging. So I replaced the starter on it. It didn't fix it, it's doing it again. So what I'm gonna try to do is show you where it clicks. What I think it is now is I think it's the ignition switch. So I'm gonna go in and show you how to change that. So here we go. So this one has 245 miles on it, 245,000 miles. Let's see if it'll do it. Of course, it's not going to do it now. Going to crank up every time now. So it's got to do something with the temperature. It has to do. Yeah, it's going to make me out to be a liar. But anyhow, what it was doing was it was clicking. And I changed the starter out last night. It cranked up every time. Today, when I come back out to it, it would not crank. It just would not crank at all. It would go clink, clank. It sounded like the starter was bad. I checked the voltage to the battery. The battery was good. As you can see, I pulled the relay cover out, the fuse cover out. I checked the relays on the starter. For this one, this here is your starter relay. So I swapped it with, this is the rear window defrost, just to check them to see. Didn't change anything. I've checked all my cables, make sure everything was tight. When I was underneath there with the starter, I checked all the wires on it. Everything was good. Like I said, good voltage. Relays show to be good. New starter. There's only one I think can be. So we're going to go ahead and replace it anyhow so she don't have to deal with it again. All right, so now that I got it in the garage, it is a beautiful day here in North Carolina, but the wind's making it a little chilly. First thing I did was I disconnected the battery terminal, so that way there's no power to the car. And then what we're going to do is we're going to start taking these covers apart. So I'm going to take this bolt here loose. It's a 7mm. I think there's one right here as well, and that should drop this panel out of my way. And then underneath here, under these holes, is a Torx, and it looks like this is a T25. Yeah, T25 is written on it. And I'll take this cover here off. It looks like there's only one bolt in this one. There's a hole there, but when I get up underneath it with the light and look, I don't see nothing. So it may be 2 bolts, or somebody may have already taken this one apart. So I'll let you know here in just a second when I get to that. So again, we're gonna take this 7mm here loose. And there should be a 7mm right here. With those two out of the way, it should just pop out. Is it gonna make a liar out of me again? There it goes. There we go, there we go. That cover's out of my way now. Didn't give me a lot of room, but you can see it did cover a little bit. So then I'm gonna take my Torx, go up inside here. There's that one Torx right there. There's nothing in that. So let's see if it just comes on apart. Okay, this here should just slide out, just like that. It just pulls straight out. And that shouldn't make this air come right on off. Here we go. Just like that. Okay. So on the bottom cover, you've got these 2 hooks. So there's a hook up inside there for it to hook onto. Let's see if you can see it. Not really well, it's right there. Get my light right. So it'll hook in there so when it goes back together, so it hooks on that. So just don't force it. I put the tilt steering back in so I can lower it down, and this piece here should just come off the top. Just like that, all right? And so when it goes back together, you'll see it's got these little divots in there. They fit back inside here. See how that goes? Right back inside there, so when it locks back together. All right. All right, so to get the key out is it's kind of complicated. There's a hole right here on the top of it. So what you're gonna have to do, I don't think I'm gonna be able to do it one-handed and hold the camera, but you have to turn your key past the point, almost to the point where you're gonna crank it and push down. You'll feel it kind of springy, and it'll come right out. All right, so let's see if I can set the camera up so you can see. That may be the best angle I'm gonna have for you. I've turned it like I'm gonna crank it, put my key in the top half up here in the hole. As I turn it forward, I can feel it push down. I don't know, let's see. Well, I got it locked. All right, so look, it's gonna be hard to see. So I'm gonna turn it. And as I turn it to start, it's going to come right out. Let's see, there it goes, like that, and the whole key switch comes out just like this. Okay. Next, I'm gonna grab a hold of this is the transmitter for your safety on your key, so you're like your security. I'm just gonna wiggle it back and forth, and it's gonna come right on off. Let's see, it should just come, there it is. Pop it off. Let's see. I'm just gonna let this hang out of my way. I don't need it, just let it hang. All right, so here's the key switch piece here that I'm after. So it's got two little reverse Torx on it that I gotta take off. I've got a green wire here and a wire connector here that I've got to take loose. So I'm gonna unhook it and see what I need to do to unhook that. Yep, let me play with it for a minute, and then we'll be right back with it, and I'll tell you what we're doing. All right, just to give you an idea of what I'm going after, this is the key switch. This is the new one. So here's that green wire that I was talking about, how it plugs in. So it gives me an idea how it unplugs. This is the part, I got it from AutoZone, LS 1449. So what I'm gonna have to do is I'm gonna have to unplug this switch, unplug this wire from the top of the switch, and then these two bolts that I told you about, the reverse Torx. So I'm gonna figure out how to take these out, and then I'm gonna try to show you how to take them out. All right, so the top one here, the green one, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take a screwdriver and put it underneath it. See that little piece there? That's fit down in the hole down inside there. So I'm gonna take my screwdriver and just work it out. See it coming out? And it should just pop right on out here in just a second. Let's see. It looks like that's what it should do. All right. Okay, I kept going and it popped out. It broke, but this is the old one, so I'm not really worried about it. And like I said, looking at the new one, it doesn't, I don't see where there's any wires on that to go to anything. Nothing plugs in. That was just a piece that I broke off there. So as long as that hole up here is empty, right there, kind of hard to see, but right there, the hole's empty. So as long as that hole's empty, I'm good to go. So now I'm gonna take the piece off the bottom here. So right here's the piece that I want. There's a red connector in there to keep it plugged in. So I'm gonna take and pop that connector down, and then it should pop out. Okay, as you can see, I got that red piece pulled down. There's a little thumb lock right there, a little button right there. I'm gonna push right here. Let's see. I got it pulled down. I'm gonna squeeze right there. Pops right out. So now this piece is unhooked. So now what I've got to do is get up here and take those two Torx out. So I had the luxury that you don't get to see because I edited it out to go up to AutoZone and get a E4 socket to take this bolt here out. So put it right on here. Right there, and just turn it right out. And then we'll do the same for the bottom one down here. All right, and as soon as I get these done, this key switch here should pop right out. So there's my bolt. There's my second bolt, right there. And then this piece here should just come straight out, just like that. Now there is a piece right here. I have to keep an idea when I put this piece back in which way that goes so I can line them up. You see how it has a hole there? That has got to line up on this male stud part right here, all right? Just as a recap, 7mm to take the panel off. I had a 25 Torx to take the housing here off. I used a small pick to push the button to get the key switch out, and then a E4 to get my two bolts out. So I've got 2, 3, 4, 5 bolts is all I've got to take this thing apart. Now here's the new one here. I'm gonna put it back in line. Like I said, I'm gonna line that piece up with my switch, put my 2 bolts back in, and it should just go right back together the way it come apart. All right, so with this one, what I had to do was I took a screwdriver and put it inside there and turned it to make it match. I'm hoping I did right. We'll find out in a few minutes. I'm gonna test it before I put it all back together. I'm gonna hook it up, put my power up to it, and put the transponder back around it, put the key switch in and see if it cranks up before I put it all back together. But I turned it, and when I turned it, it goes right on now. So put it in place. My hand's in the way. Well, that's how quick it goes back in place. It's already there. So now I'm just gonna put the screws in it, and I'm gonna hook it back up and see if it cranks before I go any further. Now when I tighten this bolt up, what I do with it is I've got a little 1/4-inch drive ratchet on it with an extension. I'm gonna take just my index finger and my thumb, and that's all the torque I'm giving that. This is plastic. I don't want to break it, and I mean, I'm a pretty big boy. I could probably break that, so I don't want to. It's just holding that piece in place. Nothing was in bind, so now, or in a bind. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take this piece back around, slide it back in place, and just like this. And then I'm going to reconnect my wire harness here in the bottom. Here it pop. Push my red piece back in. I'm gonna walk over here and hook the battery back up. Well, first of all, I got to put the transmitter back on here, and then I'm gonna walk around or put the key switch back in, and I'm gonna crank it. So let's see what happens. All right, so it went in, and I can't get it to come back out right now because I don't want to try to break it again. But what I did was I turned it long ways, so the wires were going parallel with the key switch, pushed down and twisted, and it popped right in place. So maybe that's how it comes back out. I'd have to do some research on it. Like I said, the old one I broke. I'm not worried about it, but the new one's back in place now. So now I'm just gonna take the transponder. Remember, it just slid back up in place. Boom, just like that. And now I'm gonna take my key switch and put my key switch back in. All right, so I haven't pushed it all the way in yet. I lined it up. Just gonna slide it in. All right. All right, it feels like that's right. So let's go plug it in, the battery in, and see if it cranks. All right, so the battery's plugged back in. Switch is on. Cranks right up. Key comes out, so it looks like I've got it right where it needs to be. Yep. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm just gonna start putting the casing back on, and I'll show you how that goes, and then we'll be done with this job. Now, I know my video's been a little shaky, and I really wish I had someone to help me record it, but what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put my piece in like this first, my top piece, and I'm gonna go ahead and hook this bottom piece to it. So I'm gonna have to have both hands to do this. So basically it'll be hanging like Pac-Man's mouth open, trying to swallow the steering wheel. So as soon as I get that, then I'm gonna slide it back into place. So unfortunately, you're not gonna be able to see that because I have no way of recording it, but just take your time with it, work it in there, you'll see it'll go. And then I'm gonna put that one screw back in the bottom. All right, so like I said, you put it back together, hook it, it popped right back together. See, there's no seam. Looks good. Looks good on this side. All my seams are together. I went ahead and put my screw back in it right here on my Torx. I'm going to put my tilt back in. There it is. Everything works on it. Last thing to do is to put the panel back on and my 2 screws, the 7mm. All right, so I put the panel back on. It just popped back in place. I put the 2 7mm screws back in it. Everything's back in place. Tilt's in it. All my bolts are back in place. Put the key back in it to test it one more time. Let's see here. There it is. There it is. And the key comes out, so we're good. All right, well, I hope this video helped you some. It took me roughly, 30 minutes to an hour. But like I said, I've had a bunch of breaks in between this. I've had people stopping by. Like I said, the car's done. It's all ready to go back. I'm gonna call the customer, tell them to come get it. As I always tell you in all my videos, and I haven't said this in a while, but here I am again to tell you, take your time with this. If you start feeling frustrated with it, walk away. If you break those bolts or you break those wires, you're gonna be in a whole lot worse shape. So just take your time, enjoy it. Enjoy your time in the garage because, you know, time's limited. So enjoy yourself. Thank you.